right! Idiot fucking livestock.
Hi guys, today I'll be showing you how to make Striga's bracer from Castlevania. The first step in any foam project is to make a pattern. I'm using a dummy arm here just so it's easier for you guys to see, but you can use your own arm. Then I start by laying painter's tape down vertically on the arm. Laying the tape vertically just means that I'll get the least amount of wrinkles possible and still get the shape of my forearm. I make sure to cover the entire area that I want the bracer to sit on my arm, and then I can start drawing on the shape of the bracer. With a Sharpie, I start by drawing out the base shape first. And then you can start drawing on the details, and get a rough idea of how your bracer is going to look once it's finished. Then whenever you're happy with the way that you've drawn on the pattern, you can very carefully cut off the pattern. If you're doing this on your own arm, I would recommend getting somebody to help you, as this can be a little bit tricky cutting it off your own arm. Then I trace the pattern that I just made onto a piece of paper so I can cut apart the tape pattern. And then when you're done, you should have two patterns, one for the base and then one for the detail pieces. Taking my base pattern, I trace it onto the foam. My biggest tip for foam work is to keep a very sharp knife. I usually sharpen my knife between every 3 or 4 cuts. I'm cutting most of my edges at 45-degree angles, roughly. This just gives the bracer a little bit more of that pointy, angular shape like Striga's armor has in the show. Then, I trace on the detail patterns. Very carefully cut them out. I'm also cutting these out at an angle. I made a little graphic on screen so you guys can more easily see. The bottom detail piece is a little bit different, so keep that in mind. Then using a heat gun, I apply heat all over the base. This does two things. It shrinks the pores of your foam so the glue can more easily sit on top of the foam rather than sink in. And you can bend the base into shape so it more easily contours to your arm. Then I do the same thing with the heat gun and I heat up the detail pieces. I use some pressure to smooth out the edges just so they're nice and flat. Then I cut a V-shaped groove in the back of each of the detail pieces. I cut this groove really shallow so it doesn't poke through the entire piece of the foam. Then I added some contact cement inside of the little groove that I made. And waited for it to get tacky so I could press those seams together. This makes the piece have a really nice sharp angle in the center. Then you can start adding the detail pieces onto your base. Apply a generous amount of contact cement to the piece that you want to adhere and to the base. I usually like to work in sections with a big glue up like this, just so I'm not getting contact cement all over my hands. Then after you place the last detail piece onto your base, it's time to move on to the spikes. For the spikes, I traced onto a sticky note a little half triangle and folded it in half a couple times just so all my sides were even and cut it out. I placed it on the arm to see if I liked the profile and then transferred that pattern onto the foam so I could cut them out. I cut all of the angles on the triangles at sharp inward 45-degree angles. Apply some glue just on the inner seam and then you can press the two triangles together. Very pointy. Then I applied contact cement onto the base of the triangles where they'll sit on the bracer and use that to kind of make a stamp of the glue so I could see where my gluing needs to start and stop on the center. Then after it gets tacky on both pieces, you can press them on. Next, I decided to work on the straps. So here I'm applying some heat to the straps and then using aluminum foil just to press and kind of rough up those straps to give them a nice leather texture. I added some Velcro on the inside of the bracer, and then I attached the straps. Only one edge of the strap is permanently adhered to the bracer, and the other edge is able to be Velcroed on and off for easy use. Then once you're happy with the test fit, your bracer is done.